daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Manchester United podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Niall, and I'm joined by Sam. Sam, it's been a while. How are you keeping?
Mate, been a while. Been too long, my friend. Been too long. Yeah, really good, man. Really good. Had a bit of a relocation. Had a bit of a start to a new job. It's been a bit chaotic, and then obviously in between, always got to make time to watch the game. So it's been a bit of a mad one, mate. But glad I'm back on with you, mate.
Good stuff. And you were telling me you're in the proximity of the Emirates as well, which is hopefully you'll be able to get a away game in there at some stage.
Yeah, I am. And the funny thing is, I didn't even think about it before I moved here. I just obviously had a few viewings, found a flat, and then it was when I actually moved here, I was like, I looked at the map and I was like, oh yeah, it's only literally about 10, 15 minutes away from me. So yeah, I mean, I'm deep in enemy lines right now, and every time there's a match day, boy, they let me know about it.
Yeah, well. I can imagine. But it hasn't been all doom and gloom for us United fans over the last month or so. How have you found it? I mean, such a change from the norm, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, how have I found it? I mean, yeah, recently it's obviously been very good. 5 undefeated. Before that, I think it was kind of same old in terms of what we were watching last year. Seemed to continue over to this season, which has kind of swayed my mind on Amorim.
Mm-hmm.
But the last 5 games have been a massive improvement. So it's been up, it's been down, and I think that's probably sums up where we're at as a club at the minute. It's kind of who knows what's going to happen in terms of a game to game basis, but yeah, not bad. Definitely where I would have expected us to be in the league if you asked me at the start. So not bad.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair assessment, and the difficult thing is that consistency is really hard to come by, apparently, for this club. So, like, we could have these 5 games that have been pretty decent, undefeated, like you said, and then after this kind of international break, struggling again. And yeah, you're not really sure what you're going to get from the players. Sometimes they show up and it's not a great sign that you're actually surprised when they do win. So hopefully that kind of dies down a bit and they can get some consistency. But obviously big wins against Liverpool, and then kind of following that up with Brighton. Was there anything that kind of stood out in those games that's given you a bit of a glimmer of hope moving forward?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I said it on previous episodes in terms of, I think these past couple results have given us a bit of a breather, and the pressure has just been relieved a lot, especially on Amorim. I think, look, if going into that Liverpool game, he was under some serious pressure, and then gets a result at Anfield, and then gets a result at home against Brighton, and then it's starting to, we start in phases of games. We're starting to sort of put pieces together, and obviously the shining light so far has been our attack. I think Cunha and Mbeumo, they haven't looked out of place one bit. I think they're exactly the type of United attacker that we expect from our forwards. They play with such intent, and they're so dynamic, and they link up so well together. So obviously that's a sort of glimmer of hope of things to come as well. And for once in a while you can say that Recruitment, they probably did a good job in that aspect. So I think, look, going forward, we've been very good. I still think defensively there's a lot of room for improvement. I think when you look, even with these past 5, we conceded 2 to Brighton. We conceded, I believe, maybe 2 to Forest. We conceded to Liverpool, conceded 2 to Spurs on the weekend. So I think even though we're undefeated on 5, we still can't keep a clean sheet. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big concern. And I think that's always going to happen when you're playing pretty much a back 5 that pretty much everyone is out of position. I mean, you've got a left back at centre back, a right back at left wing back. So that is going to happen. I mean, the one I mean, who again is you got to take your hat off to the recruitment is Lemens in goal. I think he is such a and it might be because Onana and the Bayern era was so bad, but he looks at least solid. He looks like at least a goalkeeper who can catch a ball.
Yeah.
And we haven't had that in a while. So, and I think also when a goalkeeper just is pretty solid, it gives the whole defense confidence as well. And I think you have seen that. I also think a few goals here and there with Maguire scoring the winner at Anfield, De Ligt on the weekend. So our defenders can chip in off set pieces and off goals. But I just think there's always that feeling that when a team is putting us under pressure, that we're going to concede, and that needs to change. I mean, you saw it on the weekend. As soon as Spurs started to put on a little pressure, it was almost inevitable that we were going to concede. So yeah, there's been good moments, but still a long way to go.
Yeah, I think that's a great kind of overview and summary of it. To be honest, I don't really disagree with anything you've said. It is funny about the Le Mans thing, though. It's like how low was the bar? Like, it's like he's come out and caught a corner, and everyone's just sitting there applauding him, and in the stand, just going, haven't seen that in a couple of years. And even the couple of saves that he made against Spurs before they got their 2 goals, tricky enough saves, but what I liked about them, he was actually parrying them away from goal and not right in front of the feet of a Spurs attacker again. You'd swear some of the other goalkeepers we've had were getting kind of commission per save kind of thing, looking to put it back into the area to see if they can get another one.
Sure.
But yeah, no, it's interesting as well about the different positions of our defenders, because it's looking like that probably isn't going to change. Like, I mean, when we have Martinez come back in, hopefully he can kind of slip in a bit more of a comfortable position in that left of the back 3. It was interesting that we had Maguire and De Ligt play. I think, to be fair, Maguire kind of deserves to get that game time. He has been solid when he's been playing, and De Ligt's been absolutely excellent and can kind of play really well in that right of the back 3, but also in the centre. But yeah, the Dorgu kind of the Ahmad wing back. One thing, African Cup of Nations, January time, we're going to be losing Ahmad and Mbeumo.
Yeah.
How much of an impact is that going to have? Because I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it'll have a big impact on us. I mean, luckily for us, we're only losing 2 players. I mean, obviously, some clubs are going to be losing more. But in terms of the players we are losing, they are obviously one of our most influential players, especially the form Brian and Mbeumo's in as well. And that's basically our whole right side. So, look, I expect in those periods, Mazraoui will be playing, I guess. So he will play on the right. And then, the front 3 will interchange with Cunha and Mount, and I suppose Sesko will get a lot more game time while Mbeumo is out. And to be honest, I think Sesko probably needs that game time where he's in the squad playing week in, week out. He's in the starting 11. Look, I don't know what your opinions are on Sesko, but I think it's about time that we have to question him now. Look, he's still young, he's still got a long way to go, but as Gary Neville kind of said about Wirtz, and I know Wirtz for Liverpool is slightly different scenario because he costs a lot more money, but it's the same feeling where we can't really tiptoe around the conversation. He is the one player that we brought in that isn't really hitting the expectations that maybe we should. But yeah, I mean, going back to Mbeumo and Ahmad, it's going to be a really, really big impact. But I feel like players like Mazraoui, who's been out for a while, will get more game time. Sesko, hopefully, will get more game time as well. So we'll really see where the drop off is in the starting 11. Because that's another thing which concerns me big time. It is the drop-off between the starting 11 and the subs. I mean, you saw on Saturday when we're 1-0 up and we're bringing on Agate, Delort, Yoro. I mean, what message does that send to the rest of the team? And also, I don't mind if you want to be more defensive and bring on defensive players. But
Mm-hmm.
when you bring in on the likes of Dalot and Agate, who clearly aren't good enough for us anymore, then we have real issues.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the depth of the squad. I was actually at the game at the weekend. Lucky that I have a mate working at Spurs, so I was keeping my cool in the Spurs home end. But the Ugarte thing is a big problem. Like Casemiro is the only player that Amorim trusts in that midfield. We're already kind of hindered because of our formation playing in the Premier League we have 2 in there and everyone else has 3. And when Bruno does kind of lose the head, he's been quite, to be fair, structured, but when he does lose the head, inevitably 5-10 minutes in the game, he just starts chasing the ball and then you are left on an island by yourself with Casemiro there. And I think that doesn't help when teams are kind of getting on top of us and having that sustained pressure where we don't have any help beside him. And then you can see 65, 70 minutes, the legs start to go from Casemiro. And then the only option is Ugarte because he just doesn't fancy Manu at all in that role. And that's a big problem. Like, he's just not up to it at all.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is about Casemiro, I know. Look, I know there's always that conversation around him, and rightly so, that nowadays he doesn't have the legs to play a full 90, and he has to be subbed off at every game. But I actually think when he's playing that well, which I thought he had a really good game.
I think he's playing well.
Once again against Spurs. I remember he came off against Brighton a few weeks ago and got a standing ovation by Old Trafford. I think when he's in this type of form and the drop off is so much in Agate, I think just keep him on. Honestly, I think just keep him on because him sort of with his stamina goes and things like that. But I'd rather have a sort of slow Casemiro who's playing damn well than bring on Agate just for the sake of bringing him on, just because there's this whole thing of Casemiro can't play a full 90. When actually, if you think about it, Agate, well, before the Brighton game, Casemiro flew with Brazil to Asia and played Japan. Then Casemiro came back and played his 70 minutes at Brighton. So look, we might not think he can play a full 90, and look, he doesn't have age on his side, but he puts in a damn shift when he does. So why not try it? Why not try it for one game? And this is my whole thing with Amorim, where he's so structured in every decision he makes, whether it's a system, formation, whether it's his routine subs every game. For me, and this is why I've made it pretty vocal since the Brentford game that I will no longer support him, to be honest. And this is why in the fact that, look, I want it to work out for him. He's a nice guy, he's an honest guy. But if you're that stubborn and you don't adapt to the circumstance of the game, to the context of the game, to the context of other team systems, if you don't change that, we're always going to have problems. And that might not be now. We might have individual games of brilliance, but long term, if you're so rigid in everything you do and it doesn't work, then what's your plan B to fall back on it? And that's where I think every game we see 2 centre-backs get swapped out. Partey comes on, and it's just like some games that's not necessary. We don't need to do that. So, I mean, what are your opinions? I mean, I haven't spoken to you in a while about Amorim. Where's your head at in terms of it?
I think the points are fair. The formation does concern me because why is it so good? Like, why is he so stubborn with sticking with this formation, and he's completely built his career on it and looks like he won't ever change? And he does say, look, every time he's kind of put the question to him, he says it's not about the formation. But it clearly is, because if you're that structured on it where you won't change, fair enough. The one thing that I did like actually watching the Spurs game was the subs that he made initially were actually attacking subs. So he took who did he take off? Now we're playing kind of
Mount came on.
We had Mazraoui came off, and we put Ahmad to wing back, which is actually an attacking sub. So Ahmad went back into right wing back, and this is when we were 1-0 up at the time. And I actually think the players didn't react to that sub. So by playing that sub, automatically you're thinking, okay, the manager still wants us to go for it here. I thought they sat back and said, there's 20 minutes, 25 minutes left here. Let's just hang on to this 1-0 lead. It became, we were sitting in a lot more. We were kind of playing these hopeful balls up to Mbuemo to kind of create something. We weren't kind of getting enough bodies around him. Cunha was getting a bit, not tired, but like sick of kind of chasing the ball because he wasn't really involved in the game. He was playing kind of false nine and didn't really know what to do. And then that's when Spurs started to pile on the pressure. And then he made his usual substitutions. Even though Maguire got injured, you can imagine he probably would have taken him off to bring on Euro anyway. And the Ugarte one, like we've mentioned. So I think I was happy that he decided not to kind of shut up shop and bring on more defensive players to kind of keep that 1-0 lead. I actually thought the players left him down in that. But yeah, it goes back to the consistency, like we said at the start. If he plays in this system and United are winning games, I couldn't care less what system United are playing in, as long as they're getting results. But if you are being stubborn and you aren't getting results, and other managers could get more out of the players and could get results, then it becomes a problem. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I totally agree with that. When I don't care how we win as long as we win. And people might say, oh, you should care about the style of play, blah, blah, blah. We're not in a position as a club right now to beggars can't be choosers, But the problem is when you're playing that type of system and you're not winning games. And that's the thing with Amorim. I think he doesn't help himself. Like, relieve the pressure by just winning a few games. You don't have to. You can sack your system off for a couple of games just to get results, and then go back to it and whatever. And that's what I said before in terms of just look at going 5 undefeated, what it's done in terms of the whole atmosphere and the pressure. The pressure has just lifted slightly. Don't get me wrong. If we lose again, everyone will start talking again. But this is what, and he should have done this a year ago when he first came into the club and he realised, hang on a minute, like, we're actually losing games here. He should have then gone, look, let me switch it. Let me just like settle it down and then start to. But the fact that he's come in and straight away tried to play this way and just stuck by it, even though we're losing games. Unfortunately, I think as soon as a manager starts to do that, you're sort of saying, I'm going to die on my sword here. And as a manager, I think in some sense, I admire it. I go, do you know what? Fair enough. You want to play your system. You value your sort of morals and values, and fair enough. But in some way, I go, it's also really selfish, because if you're not here in 6 months' time, you've actually come into a club, brought your players in, tried to play your type of system, and you're not actually here for the long term. So in some sense, you've actually taken us backwards from where we, and this is the whole problem we've had in the past couple of years post Fergie, where managers have come in, brought their players in, played their system, and long term they're not here, and now we're stuck with all these players that aren't even the current manager's players. And that's been the whole system, and it's a recurring cycle. So when I see Amorim come in and do the exact same, how can I believe that? I did the same with Ten Hag, I did the same with Ole, but like I said to Cormac yesterday, the signing insanity is doing the same thing over, and eventually, as a fan, I need to go, hold on, you're not pulling the wool over my eyes this time. And look, as I've said before, I love Amorim. I think he's an honest guy. I'd go have a pint with him. Like, I have nothing against him, and of course I want it to work for him. But at this moment in time, I can't support what he's doing. But I'm willing to be turned around, So.
Yeah, they're interesting points. It's very they're good debates, because you mentioned at the start he should have just come in and got results, and then there's also a really strong argument where it's like, the season's a write-off anyway, and what's the point of me? I have to get the system into the lads' heads at some stage, so I might as well start now and have the pain in the short term. But the thing is, it didn't turn around quick enough for him. So in hindsight, it looks bad, because you spend 6 months trying to get them to the system, and we're still losing games, and we're 15th in the league.
And that's the thing, and that's all well and good. And I would have given him a bit of grace from last season, But the fact that we've come into this season looking the exact same, okay, recently we've played well.
Yeah.
At the start of the season, you had Grimsby, you had Brentford, you had City, and it was the exact same as I was watching last year. So I went, hang on a minute, mate. We gave you time last year. This was the season where we're meant to kick on now, and we're not. And also, it's been a year. So how long do you want? So
Yeah.
look, and I've never ever wanted a manager to be sacked, or I will always sort of support the manager. But when you're sort of losing games and it's not, you're not, when I don't see your sort of long-term vision, that you're sort of only looking so short-term at the project, I'm like, it's selfish, and I don't want my club to. Okay, like I said before, we'll have good games and bad games. We'll have good games against Liverpool and City last year, but this isn't playing like this isn't sustainable. And then also, I question some of his decisions in moments. In terms of, I know you said before, in terms of Maguire maybe warranted a start because of the form he's in, but what are we doing here when we're starting Maguire still in 2025 against the big teams? And he's not even playing Maguire against the sort of lesser teams. He's actually playing Maguire in the harder games. And it's like, that can't be the case. We've got Lenny Yoro, get my words out. This is making me rather. We've got one of our best prospects on the bench over Maguire. Maguire's been here now 7 years. And again with Maguire, I like the guy. He seems like a nice guy, and I'm not singling him out. Obviously, Agate we mentioned, Dalot we mentioned, but this is the whole point where a player has a few games, a manager has a few games, and everyone sort of lose sight of actually what's been going on. And look, that's natural as a football fan, but let's just remember, okay, few good games from Maguire, for Amorim, but let's just actually be realistic about where we want to get.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And I think one positive as well, when you compare it to maybe different systems that we've had in that post-Ferguson era with Van Gaal, we bought very specialist players. I think what's good about the recruitment this season is that the players that we bought aren't necessarily suited for even Amorim's system. They could play in a 4-3-3 or any sort of normal system that any other manager plays. So I'm kind of happy that we don't have these specialist wing backs that might be struggling to find a place in the team if a manager did change. So at least they haven't gone. They've said, yeah, we'll give you good players, but we're not going to go completely all in and buy 7 specialized players that can play in all these positions. So I think that's one positive thing to take from it.
And I also think if you look at the back end of last season and you looked at our starting 11, for example, I mean, we had problems everywhere in all areas, defence, midfield, and in attack. So the positives you can take after the summer in terms of recruitment is you go, look, our attack seems to be fixed now. So look, you can't fix the whole team in one summer, but at least they've fixed one area. And then you're hoping that the next transfer window comes around, you fix another area, and then you fix the other area. Because I still think, obviously, I still think we need a class number 6 to obviously fill.
We need 3 midfielders.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need a number 6. I mean, if you just think of all the top level clubs in the world right now, with the Caicedos, the Rice, the Rodris, the Gravenberch, all the top level clubs in the world have a number 6 who is class, a DM who sort of tidies everything together, holds everything together. We need someone like that. And Casemiro, as we mentioned, is doing a job right now, but long term, we need someone in there. Obviously, we went in apparently for Carlos Baleba in the summer. Maybe we go back in for him. I'd actually like to see more someone like Adam Wharton maybe come in, or even the players slip my mind now, and Elliot Anderson maybe come in because I think that'd be perfect for that. And I also think we need a centre back, to be honest. We, again, with the DM position, in my opinion, I think we need a centre back that sort of holds everything together, sort of is that standout centre back to take our defence to the next level. Because I think our centre backs are decent. I think they're all decent at what they do, but I don't think there's one above the rest. I think they're all on their days 7, 8 out of 10, which, look, it's consistent. It's not bad, but there's not one standout centre-back. And that's where I think if we had one sort of world-class standout centre-back in the middle and a De Ligt, a Martinez, a Euro next to them, our defence would be class, to be honest. But I think right now, even if you're looking at our best back five there, you've got, obviously, the 3 centre-backs you'd probably say would be De Ligt, Martinez and Euro. And look, it's not bad, it's decent, but I think we need one more to take them to the next level. And then obviously fullbacks, again, I think we need to also fix our sort of fullback area, because again, our fullbacks are decent. Mazraoui is decent, he's Mr. Consistent. Dorgu, he's young, he can be decent on his day, but we need more than decent if we're going to take the next step,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a fair point. There's still plenty to fix, so it's hard to pick just one area. But I suppose we'll wrap it up there, Sam. I mean, it's great to kind of have a bit of a chat about the manager and how the actual team's been playing over the last while. Like you said, we can't forget the start of the season and how gloomy it was looking, and then we kind of pulled these results out of nowhere and seemingly getting a bit of a run of form now. After the international break, I mean, I haven't had a look at the fixtures, actually. I must take a look. But do you think that this is a blip in terms of a bit of a purple patch, or do you think this is something that we can actually take forward?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that. I actually looked at the fixtures the other day. Everton at home, Crystal Palace away, West Ham, Wolves are the next 4. And you're looking at West Ham, Wolves, and I mean, Crystal Palace and Everton as well. They're winnable games. They are honestly such winnable games, especially Wolves and West Ham, the form they're in. So I'd be looking at those next 4 games, really going, you know what, lads, like we've got a chance here. And I said this to Cormac a couple of episodes ago. I think it was after the Brighton game, maybe after Liverpool, where I'd be if I was Amorim and I was those players in the dressing room, I would be going, lads, like we realistically at the start of the season, we probably would aim for Europa League challenging, but we've got a chance now to push for Champions League. Everyone else is being inconsistent.
Exactly.
If we just show a little bit of consistency, we've got a really good chance here. So if I was them, I'd be going, come on, like this is our chance now to sort of pick it up. And look, after those 4 games, God knows where we'll be, because as I said, everyone else is sort of Chelsea losing to Sunderland, Liverpool. I mean, they're a whole different problem, happily for us at the minute. So yeah, I think everyone else is obviously bar Arsenal are really inconsistent. So if there's that one team, and Arsenal have shown that can show a bit of consistency, you can go far this year.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Everyone's dropping points, and way more than any other season. So yeah, which is making it interesting for the neutral, but like you said, leaves a bit of a door open for ourselves. So let's see how we get on. But Sam, thank you very much for joining me. Great episode as usual. Check us out on our social medias, gspnmanunited. Where there'll be a few more clips of some of the podcasts as well. But until the next one, thank you.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.